So this is your help video for quiz 1.03. The first type question you see will look something like this. This one says, which lines are parallel in the square pyramid? Select each correct answer. So I'm just going to color code it because it helps me. So I'm going to check line AB. So I'm going to connect from A to B, and line AD, so from A to D. And those are not parallel because they intersect. Those are intersecting lines or skew lines, so we're going to get rid of that one. All right. Then I'm going to change colors, and I'm going to try from C to D, this line, and BE, that line. Okay, so notice here there's no parallel marking, but we know those are parallel because of a key word up here. It says it's a square pyramid. And we know the opposite sides of a square have to be parallel. So we actually do have enough information to say that those two lines are parallel. All right, then let's check the next ones. Let me change colors. Purple, why not? All right, so BC and line DE. Again, they don't have parallel markings, but we do have enough information because it's a square pyramid. We can say that that is true as well. And then the last set, AD and BC. Okay, now this is a really commonly missed one because in the figure, the lines don't intersect. They don't touch. But remember, a parallel has to be that they never touch no matter how far you extend it. So I think you can see that if you kept extending these lines, eventually somewhere way down there, they are going to touch. Those are not parallel. So just because they don't touch in the picture you're given doesn't mean that they're parallel. They have to never touch forever if extended. All right, here's the next type question. The figure shown is a rectangular prism, which edges are parallel to BD. So again, I'm going to go ahead and color code. And y'all, I hope you know if you have a school computer, you have a snipping tool, and you can take a snip of the picture, and then it has like, you know, pen and highlighter options, so you can do the same color coding on your computer. All right, so we have line BD, and we're going to select which of these are parallel. So let me start with a different color. All right, so PY. Even though it doesn't have the marking, we know it's a rectangular prism. So we know each side is a rectangle, and in a rectangle, the opposite sides are parallel. So that line is parallel. All right, then we have BM. I hope you can tell that these are not parallel, mostly because they intersect right there, but they're probably going to be perpendicular. All right, then we have YH. Okay, so these do not intersect on the rectangular prism, but clearly they are still not parallel. For lines to be parallel, they have to be in the same plane. And if you imagine this as the three-dimensional figure that it is, YH is in the front corner of the rectangular prism, and BD is in the back. Those are not on the same plane, so they can't be parallel. They have to be in the same plane. All right, so then we have AH. Oops, I picked a bad color because I've already done that color. Whoopsies. Let me use yellow. All right, so then we have AH. Now this one's another really confusing one because AH and BD, look like they should be parallel. And you got to think about the plane. And you can actually, even though this one's on the front and that one's on the back, you can actually make those on the same plane if you think about the diagonal plane that kind of cuts through diagonally. So those two lines can actually be on the same plane, and if they're extended, they would never touch. So those are parallel. And then the last one, MK, it's right here. And these are clearly on the same plane because it's the back of the box. And they're never going to touch. So those are also parallel. All right, so remember parallel lines, if you extend them in any direction, they're never going to touch and they have to be in the same plane. All right, the next question says, the figure shown is a rectangular prism. Which edges are perpendicular to QE? All right, so let me label QE, and then we're just going to color code again. So, start with some blue. QP, that is perpendicular. Because it's a rectangular prism, we know that the angles in a rectangle are 90 degrees. So that is going to meet at a 90-degree angle. All right, then the next one, EJ. Now this one doesn't really look like a box. If you drew the box here, you might be like, that doesn't really look like it makes a 90-degree angle. But again, this is a rectangular prism. This is a 3D rectangle. So the side is going to be perpendicular to the base of the box. All right, then we have PR. Okay, so again, you have to kind of think about your plane here. This is the back of the box, and this is the top right-hand side. Those aren't perpendicular because they're not in the same plane. They're never going to meet at a 90-degree angle. Okay, next we have RA. So QE and RA, those are actually parallel if you think about that diagonal plane, so that's not perpendicular. And then we have JA. Wait, where did I get JA from? I totally just made JA up. That's not even the next option. Then we have TQ. Goodness gracious. Okay, so TQ. Whew. Okay, so this line and the green line, they do intersect right here. And it doesn't really look like that would create a right angle there, but you have to imagine this as a three-dimensional rectangular prism, as a cube, kind of. Those two sides would be at 90 degrees. The top and the back would have to meet at a 90-degree angle, so those would be perpendicular. If it's really hard for you to visualize this, like grab an actual like tissue box or something that's a rectangular prism so you can kind of see using that. All right, the last one. Jason knows that AK is perpendicular to KB, which is already marked right here. And he knows that AK is parallel to EF. I'm going to go ahead and mark that. AK is parallel to EF. And he knows that AK is parallel to CB. All right. What other facts can Jason conclude are true? Okay, so the first one says angle JFB equals 90 degrees. So let's trace out angle JFB. We're asking whether we think that's 90 degrees. And you cannot just go by what the picture looks like. All right, there has to be a mathematical reason for it. If you think back on these, we kept referring back to, oh, well, it's a rectangle, so we know the angles are 90 degrees. So here we have to think, okay, how do we know this is 90 degrees? And the reason we know is because, let me highlight this. This line right here, KB, is intersected by this line, DK, and this line. And both of those are parallel. If two parallel lines intersect the same line, then they're going to meet at the same angle. So since this angle is 90 degrees, that one is also going to be 90 degrees. I might have just blown your mind a little bit, so let me give you another visual. Let's say these two lines are parallel, and they both intersect this line. So if this angle is 30 degrees, this angle would also have to be 30 degrees. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so this one is true. It is a 90-degree angle. All right, let me change colors so we can check out the next one. Angle EJM is 90 degrees. So let's see. EJM. DN. We're asking whether this is 90 degrees. Now again, it really looks like it's 90 degrees. But all we know that this line and this line and this line are parallel, and they're all intersecting this one. But notice that we don't have enough information here. We don't know the angle right here, and we don't know the angle right here. So we just don't have enough to say whether that is 90 degrees or not. If we knew that line DM was parallel to line KB, then we would have enough information because we could use those two angles. But there's just not enough information given. So be really careful. Don't just go by what it looks like. You have to go by the information that you're given. Okay, so the next one, KB is parallel to DM. So here's KB, and here's DM. And again, we're not given that they're parallel, and we don't know the angles, any of these angles up here, so we just don't have enough information to say that those are parallel. Just because they look it doesn't mean they are. And then the last one, we have KB, this green one, is perpendicular to CB. And so we go back to the fact that this line, CB, is parallel to EF, and both of those lines intersect this same line, KB. So if we know this is 90 degrees, then we know this one also has to be 90 degrees. So that is true. All right. Oh, this one got cut off. Let me see if I can move this. Oh, of course not. Okay, that's the best I can do. So we want to classify each of these. So the first one says AB is something to CD. All right, so let's look and see what information we have. I can see that both of these green lines intersect line EF, and I can see that both of those green lines intersect at the same angle. So I have enough information to prove that those are parallel lines. I'm going to go ahead and mark those. All right, then the next one, we have CD and GH. Okay, so these really look like they might be perpendicular, but we have to see if we have enough information to prove it. All right, so we would need to know, like, do you see how this line GH intersects this one? So if we knew that EF and GH were parallel, then we would know that they intersected at the same angle. Unfortunately, that's not marked. If we knew that GH and IJ were parallel, then they would have to intersect that line at the same angle, but that's not marked either. We don't have any other information marked, so we don't know if GH is parallel to any of these other lines. Even though it looks like it does, we just don't have enough information. It can't be determined. All right, and then we have, let's see, what does that say? AB and GH. All right, so here's AB and here's GH. Okay, so again, we don't have parallel line markings yet, so let's see. I think that's going to be another one that cannot be determined. I might go back and reevaluate that after the last one if I feel like it. Pretty sure that's right though. All right, IJ and CD. Okay, well, we know these are perpendicular because it has a nice little box for us there, so I'm feeling really confident about that one. That's definitely perpendicular. And since I didn't get any new information about that, I also feel really good about this purple answer too. It cannot be determined. All right, that's it for this quiz. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know.